Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular council meeting. It's Wednesday, June 28th, 2023. I encourage all those within the building to ensure that their communication devices other than council that you're looking at, your laptops, are shut off or put on vibrate, please. First of all, I'd like to recognize a family in our municipality whose daughter recently at the 21st Annual Forest City London Music Awards Gala won the contemporary singer-songwriter that would be the Griner family. Daughter is none other than M. Griner, lady that we're certainly very proud of in Plympton-Wyoming. Secondly, I want to share with you that this day in history on June 28th, 1919, the Treaty of Versailles was signed, ending the First World War. And today, June 28th, 2023, we in Plympton-Wyoming are creating some of our own history. So we are most pleased to recognize our Senior of the Year. It's been said that volunteering, a vital part of the community building, brings together people who are committed to achieving a shared outcome of making their community a better place for all. Engaging volunteers is an effective way of building a connected community with members who share similar values and goals. This evening, we're very pleased to recognize one of our residents. He's been part of Plympton-Wyoming since 1971, transferred to our community from Bell, Canada, from Montreal. He was employed for 30 years with Bell Canada, 20 years in the data communications, and 10 years in business phone service. With two partners in 1995, he started Interlake Telecommunications, where he worked for 20 years. He served in the community on various committees for soccer programs. He also volunteers with the Blue Water Triathlon for the last 10 years. And currently, he is the president of the Plympton-Wyoming Historical Society and a member of our Special Events Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the council, I'm very pleased to introduce to you 2023 Senior of the Year, Gord McKenzie. Gord, congratulations.
I want to thank you, Mayor Gary, and the council here for recognizing the volunteers in our community and the need for volunteers in the community. I humbly accept this award. But I also like to mention that there are many other volunteers in the Plympton-Wyoming area, such as in the Plympton-Wyoming Historical Society, the Huron Shores Optimists, the Lions and Lionesses of Wyoming, the Fairgrounds, the Legion, and the sports committees. All these people are volunteers and they definitely add to our community. So I accept this award, knowing that you guys are respecting the volunteers in this community. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Gord. If you'd like to come around here, we're going to present this to you. And if anybody would like to take pictures, this is the time that we will do it. Yeah. Get your head up.
That's nice. Before you go record. Yeah, I'm trying. Oh. Well, it should be one good. Holy moly. That.
From here.
It's time to bring them up and do
We
a
sure
similar
do.
photo with them.
The family, would you like to
You guys
come up?
want to do this?
Don't get too enthusiastic. I represent all 5 children and 14 grandchildren.
You're the representative, are you?
I am. The son-in-law not involved in this? Come on.
I thought it was immediate.
You,
And yourself, Gary.
Now we're. Whoops.
Yep, good, good. Okay. All right, right about now, you guys. Good. One more. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Very soon, I'm sure.
I'd like to also thank the members of the press that have joined with us this evening. We're very fortunate to have you, and thank you again for coming. Thank you, Gord.
Thanks, Gord. Thanks.
Thank you.
Very much.
You get everything you needed?
Yes.
Stuff highlighted.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go, first of all, council, I'm gonna take it into item number 3. If anybody has a declaration of pecuniary interest to do, please declare it at the appropriate time. Next, we go to item number 4.1. Clerk, we have a delegation from Enbridge Gas, IRP Southern Lake Huron Pilot Project, Daryl Arnold and Chris Ripley. I believe Daryl and Chris are both with us virtually. I welcome you. Who's going to be taking lead for speaking on this one?
Yeah, good evening. Daryl Arnold here, operations manager with Enbridge Gas. So I'll be speaking this evening, and then Chris Ripley from Enbridge Gas, manager of integrated resource processes, is here with me also this evening. So I apologize. I was trying to find my button to get off video to get the video going. So
Hey, no problem. We're glad to have you with us, Daryl.
no, and thank you, Your Worship and Council, for having us here this evening. Very much appreciate the opportunity to present this evening. I guess question as far as presentation, will it be presented by staff there, or okay, perfect. Thank you, Chris. So if you just jump to the next slide. As I said, my name is Daryl Arnold, operations manager here with the Southwest region for Enbridge Gas. And as I mentioned, I have Chris Ripley with me here today, also from Enbridge Gas. He's the manager of integrated resource planning. And we're here this evening to provide information on Enbridge's integrated resource planning process. And are looking for or asking for council's endorsement as part of our regulatory filing for an integrated resource planning pilot project, which is located within this community. Your voice as council can make a difference in the project being approved and supported at the Ontario Energy Board. So we are seeking council's consideration of a letter or resolution of support for the project, which will be included as part of our Ontario Energy Board application. The OEB application process will review the proposal, including any community support for the proposed non-pipeline alternative projects and pilots. We have found that previous resolutions of support for other projects makes a significant difference in these applications. If you could jump to the next slide, please. Bear with me a second here. So first, talk a little bit about what integrated resource planning is. So it is an enhanced planning strategy and process where Enbridge Gas evaluates non-pipeline alternatives that could be used to defer or avoid implementing a traditional pipe project to help support a system's natural gas needs. Our IRP is meant to run alongside our traditional customer connection and community expansion efforts as we work with policymakers and a range of stakeholders to map out Ontario's energy future. So IRP has a few different alternatives or non-pipeline alternatives. They include demand side alternatives, which involve reducing or shifting customer consumption, and supply side alternatives. And that's such things as compressed natural gas, renewable natural gas, and hydrogen. Alternatives can be implemented individually or in combination to meet a system's needs cost effectively while reliably maintaining customer demand. If you go to the next slide, please. So a little bit about the specific project or pilot project we're here to talk about this evening. So under the direction of the Ontario Energy Board, Enbridge is looking to develop and implement 2 IRP projects. One of which, as I mentioned, is located here in the southern Lake Huron area, which includes the town of Plympton-Wyoming and the city of Sarnia. The key focus of these pilots will be to explore and better understand 2 key demand side IRP alternatives. So specifically, what we call enhanced targeted energy efficiency, or also ETEE, and demand response, or DR programs. So ETEE, that involves offering targeted energy efficiency programs, such as providing incentives towards energy efficient which involves providing incentives towards energy efficient equipment to homeowners and businesses in the pilot areas. And this is in efforts to reduce peak period natural gas demand in the area. And the other IRP alternative of interest is demand response. And this involves offering a program that would target primarily residential customers and would provide incentive to participants to lower their thermostats during peak times as requested by Enbridge Gas, essentially looking to shift load to off-peak period gas demand timeframes. Supply side IRP alternatives like CNG, so compressed natural gas, is also considered in the pilot scope, but will mainly be leveraged as a backup solution to ensure Enbridge Gas can reliably meet any system demand requirements while these 2 demand side IRPAs are being piloted and evaluated. If you could jump to the next slide, please. So a little bit more details here on the Southern Lake Huron pilot. The map on the right indicates the pilot area. And that's where Enbridge Gas customers in this area will be eligible for enhanced targeted energy efficiency and demand response programs. Within this pilot area, the highlighted area of influence indicates the low spot in the system, and where changes in peak load in the specific area will have an impact to an identified reinforcement project. Certain aspects of the ETEE and DR programming will only be offered in the area influence region versus the broader pilot area. And learnings from this project are going to lead to better decision making, informed system development, and will shape asset management planning for years to come. IRP will be a benefit to all Ontario ratepayers by providing the most cost-effective solutions rather than relying on traditional infrastructure development. This pilot would also benefit any participating customers in the community through enhanced energy efficiency programming that could help reduce consumption and potentially lower energy bills. And if we could jump to just the last slide here, and talks a little bit about the consultation process. So in order to engage the community, our project team has engaged in calls with municipal staff, hosted regional webinars, and we recently hosted an in-person open house at the local community center. Feedback and conversations for the open house event centered around the RAPA program offerings and general interest in demand side management programs available to agricultural customers. All the presentation materials from the open house and the webinars are available on the website, and community members are encouraged to sign up for any additional updates. Enbridge Gas plans to return to the community after the OEB approval of the IRP pilot application to consult and market detailed program information and encourage participants to our pilot. We hope that this information was helpful to Council and very much appreciate the opportunity to present tonight and appreciate Council's endorsement of this IRP pilot project. With that, I will turn it over to Chris Ripley, who will be available to answer any questions that council may have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Daryl. Hello, Chris. Good to see you. We have a few minutes till our next delegation. So council, at this time, if you have some questions, we will take it and maybe ask Chris or Daryl. The same, I believe you're going to be sending us something that we can look at a little further. Is that correct, Daryl, Chris? That then we can come back with it later on our next meeting or so. Is that correct?
Yes, we'll be sending some additional information to council.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go to my right if there's any questions. Councillor Bojan,
Nothing for me. Thank you for the presentation.
Councillor Basie,
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Councillor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have several questions, but maybe those questions will be answered when they send the additional information.
Okay.
One question, if I could ask now, is why was this particular area chosen for this pilot project?
So there's two primary reasons. One is that this is an area of need. So it's a growing area on Enbridge's system, and we will need to put in additional reinforcement or additional pipe in the ground to serve that incremental new load. The second reason is the vast majority of the natural gas meters in this area they're not called smart meters, but they have technology on them that we can actually collect hourly data now. So what we're doing is starting to collect the hourly data to give us a baseline set of information so that when we actually implement this pilot, we can measure that baseline data to the changes that we're hoping to see with the pilot program. So yeah, two primary reasons. One, it's a big constrained area already. And second, it's got great information that we can utilize going forward.
To my left, Deputy Mayor.
No, thank you for your presentation, and we're always interested in reducing our gas bills. Thank you.
Councillor Van Claveren.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was a fine presentation. Appreciate that information. I really look forward to the package you're sending.
Councillor Wobet.
I guess I'll just have to wait and see what comes along and see how much money you're going to save me. The gas bill will be cut in half. I would have liked to seen a lot more emphasis going out towards our rural districts. Appreciate the fact that this is more geared towards residential, but there's a big demand out there, natural gas in the rural districts as well. That's all I have to say.
All right, staff, before we move on, anything from you at this time? No? Okay, gentlemen, I think that's exhausted our questions for the time being. I certainly do appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about this, and as I said earlier, we'll await your presentation to hand out to us, and we can maybe get into that a little further and get back to you when we meet again.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So, okay, so they're done. Bella? Okay. Council, we have another delegation coming, but it's not scheduled for 5:30. And if you are aware, we do have a full evening ahead of us, including some drainage at 6 o'clock. So I would ask you to reflect ahead of time with your comments, and let's keep the conversation moving along in a usual manner so we can get the full evening in that we have. I would propose at this time, if you're comfortable with it, we'll move ahead to item 5. Get some stuff out of the way here. So I take your attention to 5.1, moved by Councillor Rodriguez, seconded by Councillor Basie, that the minutes be adopted by council, and those confidential minutes of the closed sessions council remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. That would be the Planning Council meeting minutes of May 29th, 2023, the closed Planning Council meeting minutes of May 29th, 2023, our regular council meeting minutes of June 7th, 2023, as well as the closed council meeting minutes of June the 7th, 2023. Council, you've had an opportunity to review all those. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, next we have business arising number 6. Business arising from previous meetings. There's 2 items, I believe, on that, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we didn't provide any motions. Information was requested to be brought back as we do in other correspondence items. If council wishes to pass a motion, we can.
Okay, the first one is the letter from Lanark County and violence against paramedics, BC 321. Anything on that? Council? Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I did look into this one a little bit further. It actually applies to all first responders, so that would be jail guards, different first responders, firefighters even, who have endorsed this bill as well. Canadian Firefighters Association, I believe. So I think it's a good bill. It's a very small addition to the legislation that already exists so that you can, so when deciding convictions for people, it's a mitigating factor that can up the penalties for individuals.
So. Anything further on that? Or would you endorse that we proceed to support it? That motion.
Can I make that motion? Is that what I say? Okay.
Seconded for that, Councilor Basie. Council, I have a motion by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Basie, that council support correspondence from Lanark County regarding the violence towards paramedics. It's Bill C 321. Any questions on that? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, the second one we're going to is a resolution from Quincy West on rental evictions. Let's see, you've had an opportunity to review that. Councilor Bojan?
For what it's worth, I think this one's about urging the province to pass Bill 97, which is already passed. So it received royal assent recently, so I'm not sure if there's a point.
Give me a point now.
Just to. I guess we'll agree with it.
Yes, Councilor Rodriguez.
I thought the commenting period ended June 30th.
I read an article today that he received royal assent.
Oh, did it? Oh.
So I guess we'll just put that one on the shelf then. All right. Hey, Council, we're moving along pretty good. We have item 7, nothing under accounts, clerk.
No, that's fine.
All right. Delegation is still not here yet, so let's go to item 8.1. I have a motion by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Basie, that the report by Elizabeth Cummings, Drainage and Engineering Coordinator, dated June 19th, 2023, regarding requests for drawing for the period of April the 1st, June 19th, 2023, be received for information and filed accordingly. Any questions on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we're going to item 8.2 on the Montgomery Drain Access Culverts. Motion by Councilor Wolvette, seconded by Councilor Van Claveren, that the report by Elizabeth Cummings, Drainage and Engineering Coordinator, dated June 16th, 2023, regarding the Montgomery Drain Access Culverts be received and staff be directed to provide copies of the staff report to all affected owners on the Montgomery Drain. Any questions on that? Call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we're going to item 8.4 on the agenda. Sorry, 8.3. Thank you, Deputy CAO. For your assistance. I have a motion by Councillor Rodriguez, seconded by Councillor Bojan, that the report by Adam Sabansky, Director of Public Works, dated June 16, 2023, regarding a request for proposal to supply and install playground equipment at Reddick Park be received, and the proposal from Blue Imp for recreational equipment, $26,540 without HST, be approved. Is there any questions on that? Councilor Basie?
Yes, your worship, thank you. We had discussed either at Parks and Rec or during our tour that we would look at putting swing sets in as part of our packages, so. Is that a possibility here?
Given the value of the request for proposal, the concrete that staff placed earlier this month, and the cost of soft surfacing, there's not really any budget left in the capital side for this project. If the committee or council wanted to motion me to install a swing in addition to this equipment, we can do so. Or if we wanted to defer this one to consider other proposals that include a swing set, we can do that as well.
I'm okay with going there.
Isn't there an old swing set there anyway?
Is there? I don't
I
know.
think there is an old swing set at the back. Well, they can use it for now, I guess.
Yeah.
Until. I don't know. A couple of bucks.
Any further questions on this? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried.
It was brought to my attention that there was an issue with the agenda. If you were having a hard time, hit the refresh button. It should work now.
I was getting eye compass.
Yeah, there was an error. I just went in and did something. So if you were having trouble, just refresh and it should be good to go now.
You okay there, Bob?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, item 8.4. Our 2023 hardtop resurfacing tender results. Motion by Councillor Van Claveren, seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen, that the report prepared by Adam Sabansky, Director of Public Works, dated June the 20th, 2023, regarding the 2023 hardtop resurfacing tender results be received. That the tender from Sevcon Paving for $113,484.57, excluding HST, be accepted, and that bylaw 71 of 2023 be taken as having been read 3 times and finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Any questions on the motion? Councilor Rodriguez?
Thank you, your worship. So on Blue Point Drive in the cul-de-sac, so that in that entire stretch of road in Sunset Acres is currently gravel. And it has had asphalt patching on the sides. I believe this cul-de-sac has had some asphalt patching as well. Just recently, within the last couple of years, is that correct?
No, there was some patching done in the area a number of years ago to address some of the deterioration. But I know from operations staff that the cul-de-sac has deteriorated to the point where we cannot patch it anymore. And that's why they're recommending to resurface it as part of the project.
Yes. So what exactly, so is it just the cul-de-sac's gonna have a full pave job?
It'll be pulverized and repaved, yes.
Because it's not currently paved, so it's gonna.
It was paved, but unfortunately, right now it is completely and utterly destroyed, so it's a gravel surface. Up until a couple of years ago, it was surface treatment or tar and chip, but that tar and chip has disappeared and is completely gone, and that is why we're going to refresh the gravel and pave, put new asphalt down.
Okay, just for the cul-de-sac and then.
Just for the cul-de-sac.
And it'll be tar and chip for the rest of them.
That would be a council decision down the road when we come to it. I know we've generally tried to avoid retarring and chipping urban areas. So when the time comes to repave Blue Point or other tar and chip roads in the area, that is a discussion we would have, whether we want to maintain the existing level of service and use tar and chip, or if we want to improve the level of service to an asphalt surface.
And then just to clarify the Thomas Drive. It's between Collingwood and that section adjacent to the park. My grandson, thanks you. He was on his bum more than his feet, trying to rollerblade down there. And he stood up and said, somebody needs to fix this road. That would be all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Rodriguez. Going back, any further questions? Councilor Wolvet.
Plan on tarring, chipping any roads, like the one I'm thinking of is my own road, Hillcrest. Based on all the construction that took place down the side of the hill, almost destroyed half of George Street. The big transport trucks loaded with big stone and pretty well broke up Hillcrest pretty good too. Is that, any of that in the plan for this year for?
There are a lot of tar chip roads that need to be redone. We are falling behind on our surface treatment and our asphalt treating. So I'm working with what budget I have this year. Hillcrest is a road that's on our target. Whether or not we can get it done this year or not, depending on the value of the tender results. I will talk to staff. We are currently trying to utilize the roads need study and our observations to prioritize which roads we can do with the remaining funds in the annual hardtop resurfacing budget. And we will be coming forth with probably a tender in the next month for that work. In approval of council.
Most of, well, broke up pretty bad by all them big stone trucks, so that's fine. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Also go back to that motion by Councilor Van Claveren, seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll do 8.5. Yes.
Perfect.
8.5, the CJ McEwen and Highland Glen Conservation Area Draft Purchase Agreements. A motion by Councilor Councilor Vasey, seconded by Councilor Bojan, that the report by Adam Sabansky, Director of Public Works, dated June 21st, 2023, regarding the CJ McEwen and Highland Glen Conservation Area Draft Purchase Agreement be received, in the draft purchase agreement for the acquisition of CJ McEwen and Highland Glen be endorsed to facilitate St. Clair Regional Conservation Authority carrying out a 45-day public consultation period. Are there any questions on this, Mr. Sabansky?
Just to confirm some information for council. So today we are only endorsing this draft agreement. This is not approval of a final agreement. We are endorsing the agreement in its current proposal to allow the Conservation Authority to move on to the consultation period. There are items of this agreement which we've been talking to the Conservation Authority, members of council and the public on, in regards to specifically some of the restrictions. We do believe that some of those restrictions or prohibitions need to be amended. That doesn't cause us challenges in the future in maintaining that park. And we will work to ensure those prohibitions are amended before it comes back to council for final approval.
Councilor Bojan?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, and I just like, I was bugging Adam a bit today because there are some things with the prohibitions that I had questions and concerns about. I guess my question is for this 45-day consultation period. So if we're going into it knowing that we want some of those things changed, and then we get to the end of the 45-day period and we ask them to make all these changes, like, are we gaining time by doing that, or they have to reopen consultation again if it's a new agreement? I'm just not sure. Like, are we saving time by doing this, or is it just going to restart another consultation period?
I would have to confirm that. It's a new provincial policy that this has resulted in. In most cases where you have an agreement, if long as the amendments are minor in nature, so they don't detract from the initial intent of the prohibitions or the intent of the agreement itself, there shouldn't have to be a new 45-day period. If we drastically change the intent of the agreement, then likely it would require a 45-day consultation period.
Councilor Vasey?
Yeah, I had a couple, thank you. So part of that is the grant easement part of it, where they talk about the topographical changes and whatnot. Is that where you're focused in on?
Councillor Bojan and I did talk about that earlier today as well.
Fixing roads or putting a new road in or something, and we'd have to get permission from them.
That may be the case, depending on the scope of it. In the conversation with the Conservation Authority this afternoon, they seem to be comfortable with minor topographical changes to carry out maintenance and such like that. But if it was a large scale improvement or a capital project, a simple email or letter to the Conservation Authority, give them a heads up of our plans, and then they respond back. The Conservation Authority's main concern is just to ensure the habitat that is existing, and whatever our plans are doing are not adversely affecting that habitat.
And the first right of refusal part of it. We sell it back to them for $1 because we bought it for $1, but we've incurred all the legal fees this round. There's nothing in there saying that they will include, they will pay their own legal fees to get it back. That should be added in. That's all I had on it. Other than that, happy to have it.
Got that, Mr. Savansky?
So
Councilor Rodriguez.
So when we discussed this at the Conservation Board meeting last week. Obviously those same concerns were brought up and it was reiterated in that meeting that anything of minor nature, so. You know, something invasive or felled trees that need to be removed, things like that are of minor nature and would not fall under this. As they did also mention. The 45 consultation period, they felt that we would also be putting that out. That consultation period in conjunction with them to the local public through our website as well. So I just wanted to make note of that. That was their, I think their assumption. I also should note that a lot of these restrictions that are put in here. This is within conservation's authority, whether we territories, whether we own it or not. The majority of these restrictions would be in place regardless. Just like exactly where I live. Right, so a lot of these things are just probably reiterating what's already in conservation authorities regulations in general for the lake shore. So I did want to kind of reiterate that. I do know that Councillor Bojan had mentioned earlier, I don't know what the answer to outside of this meeting. Was there electricity at the Waterfront? Okay, so there is no electricity. Is there electricity up at the road?
At the road itself, yes, but not to the park.
I'm sorry, I didn't know. Thank you. Okay. I just want to, I'm just thinking, you know, we do have to consider that we're taking on these two large naturalized areas on the lakefront that will be incredibly hard with the restrictions in general. To try and find ways to get revenue generating income back from them. So I just wanted to kind of know a bit about that part. And is it a question we can ask back to them about would something like Anita's cart or something like that the park be considered a minor or major commercial use of the facility of those parks?
So there is a clause in there that prohibits development of commercial, industrial, residential. I think that is more oriented towards redevelopment. I think once we own the park, if it's not disturbing the natural habitat, we have every right to do so. If that means having a food truck at the bottom of the hill at our discretion, I don't think that would be an issue. It's using a parking spot. It's not entering the forest. It's not damaging the forest. It's not damaging the natural habitat. So I think that would be well within our authority to authorize. But if we wanted to put a small washroom facility into the forest itself, just for trail walkers, that might have to gain approval. Items like that, if we wanted to redevelop a portion near the bluff to accommodate a picnic area overlooking the lake, that may have some discussions to the bluff and disturbance to natural habitat to get there. But I think if we're operating it within our current bounds, I think this agreement will not require us to have any authorization. Other than if we wanted to increase the footprint of the washroom, we'd have to give them an email saying we plan to increase this. Let us know if you have any challenges.
Okay, thank you. Mhm.
To my left, Deputy Van Clever.
All good, sir. Thank you.
Well, that,
Yeah, I guess if they want to put some rules in place now, it just amazes me how much interest are showing in it now. They showed very little before. And left it all to us, including an outhouse. I wouldn't even had no interest at all. Now all of a sudden want us to agree to a bunch of their rules where we can do anything. So it just amazes me now that they're showing that kind of interest. But to get ownership, I guess you may not have a choice. I think Kristen said it clear there that they're gonna have control along that lake in some way or another anyways, so I guess we get on with it. Hopefully they write a check for some things.
Good luck.
Dr. Bojan.
Sorry, thanks, Your Worship. I just wanted to ask one more. I know this is a new process for the Conservation Authority and for us, the whole 45-day thing. Like, are they of the understanding that, so there's two prohibitions that you and I talked about that there should probably be changes to?
Yes, the dredging as well.
And the dredging as well, because there's a clause in there about dredging. So are they aware that even though we're voting to endorse this, that we're endorsing it, even though we want changes?
Absolutely. I had that conversation with their manager today.
Regardless of what's in the local paper, we don't own it. Optimism. Okay, move it along. Any further question? Call for the vote. All those in favor? Carry.
And by the way, Mr. Mayor, the newspaper that I just read online here says we officially own them now. Headlines.
That is correct. I am aware of that. Okay, council, I'm going to take us back to 4.2 on the agenda. We have our second delegation that has arrived. Bridget, welcome to our council meeting. You can take the lectern. I believe you wanted to address council this evening.
So I just want you guys to know that I live on Huron Street, where the new subdivision is going in. And I've lived here on that street in that house since 2003. Since I've lived there, I've had 4 sewage backups to my home, all of which has caused me to submit insurance claims, money out of my pocket. After the second sewage backup to my house, I hired Blue Water Plumbing to come in and snake the lines with cameras on my side, from my side of the house lines to the road, to determine that there's no issue on my part. When I addressed at that time, the town of Plympton-Wyoming, the only thing they could say to me is not our problem. And each time I've had a sewage backup, the town comes in, they lift up the lid on the manhole, and that manhole is full of sewage to the top. The last time I could probably walk down 4 steps in that cauldron or in the basin and have it full. After the second time of having a sewage backup, I put in another insurance claim, which wonderful. I pay the deductible, they come in and do it, then they drop me. So now I'm looking for a new insurance company to cover me for home insurance. Fast forward to April, when my house just finished getting repaired due to the storm that we had in July. And because of the new builds on our street, there was felt put in by, I don't know if it's the town of Wyoming, I don't know who it was. So water couldn't properly drain in the storm drainage. So 2 levels of my house flooded, as well as others on our street. So in less than a year now, I have now a second claim that I have to put in, one for the storm, now another for the sewage backup. I have a $2,000 deductible. It's not my fault. It's on the town property in the middle of the street where the sewage is not flowing properly. My concern is now I'm going to have to probably find another insurance company. I have another $2,000+ coming out of my pocket to cover the just newly renovation from the past situation to now redoing everything over again. My issue is when is the town going to become accountable for their issues in this sewage problem? Because it's not the first time for me. It's the 4th time for me. It's the 5th claim because of a town issue that I can't afford to keep doing this. I'm a single parent. I have kids that I'm putting through school right now. And even though it's just a $2,000 here, $2,000 there, it's $2,000 that I can put towards my kids' education. And it's not fair that my life is disrupted for 4 or 5 months to get these renovations done. I've done my due diligence to have a company come in to prove that there's nothing on my end that I can fix to prevent it. When is it your time to do it? I know that you guys have had a company come in and snake and video from the road to wherever. I would like a full report of that. I want proof. If there is no issues on your side, I want proof. I want to see it on paper. I want the full report. And the other concern I have is we have new builds coming on. It's to my knowledge, right or wrong, I don't know, that 6 new homes from this new subdivision are going to be connected to my sewage line. If it can't keep up with the houses that are on it now, then what? We're going to have more issues. I can put a back check valve in and I can submit it to you to provide an reimbursement of some of the costs. I can't find a company to do it. They don't have the manpower to do it, but then I have to fork out the money and then maybe, or maybe not, you'll approve it and pay for it. Or some of it. I have so much money in just this stuff alone coming out that it really is hard to make ends meet when you're trying to do other things in life.
Yep, I totally understand. Mr. Sabansky, have we had other issues with other places on that street?
I can tell you that houses near me didn't have issues. I know, so my house was built in 78, so 44 years ago. And they say that my house, prior to me building it, and no knowledge to me when we purchased the house, is that unfortunately my house is at the lowest end of the street, the lowest end of the hill on that street. So it's always has issues. I have also been told that when these houses went in 1978, that they were approved at the sewage or the drainage or whatever it's called, that it was approved against code. It wasn't at the right elevation. So 2 neighbors of mine had to put $30,000 into their home because they were having the same issues to make the grade at the proper grade to prevent those issues.
You're just east of the hill, aren't you, Bridget?
Yes.
Down.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do know historically there has been issues, but I do know that people have put thousands of dollars into fixing those issues that really shouldn't be an issue because it was approved against code.
Mr. Spansky, back to my original question, have we had other concerns like what this lady has shared with us?
Not
This
in
is
my-
serious stuff.
And not in my time. This is I don't recall if I had dealt with yourself during the initial backups.
It wasn't you, and honestly, I can't remember the name of the guy. And honestly, when I came in and had conversations with him over the counter in the office, he made me look like a fool and said, not my problem, not my problem. And then I have a counselor who I knew at that time said, hey, I hear you were in the office causing havoc. Like, pardon?
First of all, that's not professional and that won't happen again, Ms. Council. I'm wondering if that's back before your time.
Adam wasn't here. I never spoke to Adam. I know that for sure.
I haven't received a large amount of complaints. The only concerns that were brought to myself were in support of yourself. So I haven't had any direct complaints of the flooding. The surface flooding that occurred with the storms. What you're referring to is, yes, there's filter fabric on those. But we actually have never physically received any claims from any of the insurance companies on that one.
Right, because it costs too much money for us to put a claim in. And I've already spent thousands of dollars. So that's why you're not getting the complaints.
Sorry,
Or the
we
claims.
got lots of complaints. We didn't get any claims to address.
It costs a lot of money to fight that. And with the unknown of what are you gonna do about it? Because historically, it's been nothing.
It was, sorry, Councilor Bailey.
Yes, thank you, worship. Do we have records of the construction of that street?
It's
You won't have it in your back pocket, but you know, the claims that they're not to code or they weren't.
From 78, I was barely be able to find the as constructed records. So the actual construction records might be more challenging. And 78 is quite a while ago, so unfortunately, whether it was to code at the time or not to code of current, it becomes problematic to use that as a discussion point due to the age of the situation.
What about the report?
Camera.
So I can just speak legally here. This is not a representation of my personal opinion. Typically, if a property owner is to request operational information of that nature, it has to go through an MFIP request. That is not typically information that we hand out willingly due to the amount of information that it includes and the scope of what it requires. It's not information we would typically just hand out. Specifically, since this is in discussion in regards to a potential claim, there is processes that we go through in that regard. Typically, if we're handing out information that's in regards to a potential claim, it has to be reviewed by either our insurance company if it's over a deductible, or we will review it in-house or with our legal team if it's under a deductible. But I don't think we want to get too far into the claim discussion in open council, sorry.
Councillor Rodriguez, then Councillor Wilbert.
Thank you, Your Worship. I mean, I know in Sarnia where it consistently had bad problems.
And believe me, I know about Sarnia because it took me 3 weeks for the restoration people to come back because Sarnia became their priority. So then I'm 3 weeks of living in this and taking time off work because I'm left cleaning it up. I'm left ripping the floor out. I'm left ripping the drywall out. I'm left doing 33 loads of laundry, not anyone's problem. But I'm well aware of the Sarnia.
Yeah, and what I was just going to say to that was I mean, it took mass numbers to get Sarnia to react and start investing in upgrading. I hope not that we, you know, because we only have one homeowner here speaking, that it's being discounted. There's clearly a flaw when you have 4 backups, and where she geographically sits might be part of the problem or something in that structure. I would like to see something corrected, and I assume that's your wish here, is to have the structure fixed somehow and what that looks like and whether it goes through, does it go through you?
And especially if there's more houses being added to this drain.
Pardon?
And especially if there's more houses being added to this drain. It can't keep, obviously it can't keep up with who's on it now.
And honestly, even if it wasn't, I mean, no, you can't keep moving through this. And would that be something that would go through your committee?
I think it would be part of the municipal drains, but
The sewage.
no.
I can say as much that the Public Works Department is aware of the need to continue to maintain our sewers, and we're developing a plan to do so.
And even if it's just that, like, to be quite honest, even if it's just that, if you have people that are driving up and down the street, lift up that manhole and see how full it is. Does it need to be emptied? Does it need to be sucked out? Because honestly, I called at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was 10 o'clock at night before they could come in and empty it. So I still have crap coming out my drains.
One thing we'll need to keep in mind, Sarnia has 100-year-old combined sewers. So their sewers both take stormwater and sanitary water. That is practice that's not carried out anymore due to the fact that anytime it rains, those combined sewers will overflow into basements. This situation is different than that. It's not, these are not combined sewers, although we have infiltration, it's not to the scope of what Sarnia experiences.
And just to follow up, if I may, and that was not to my point necessarily, it was to my point that insurance companies, it's a real life problem that these people are facing. And it's something that is beyond their control, and they're being penalized, thank you, constantly for the failures in the system, is more to my point. And yes, I agree to her suggestion that maybe more frequent monitoring to avoid a 5th or a 6th problem for this individual might be a solution until something can be done to give that particular spot priority on how to come up with maybe some cost-effective solutions to to correct it for her. Is kind of what I would like to see.
Speaking to the situation directly. We are actively with Jacobs to implement a different way of monitoring and maintaining our sewers so that it is done in a more effective and get more details on how we're going to do that. I will certainly share that.
Thank you, Councilor Wabet.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reading the report, Adam, that you sent out on this situation. Certainly very clear to me, there's a big problem here. I mean, four times is just unacceptable. And what I read in the report, and this would be Jacob's report, and it talked about flushable wipes and stuff like that being plugged with.
That was in closed council.
Oh, okay, all right. I guess I can't say, but it was plugged with sewage. So there's something badly wrong, and the time it took, you just mentioned, how many hours to get there after being called to pump the sewer out? I mean,
Well-
you know, so there's something drastically wrong. And if you've cleared your end and you've inspected your end, I mean, that's the kind of procedure we would follow when we did ours. We'd take a look at our site and see if there's anything wrong. So if it's plugging up out of the catch basin in the center of the road, something's got to be done. And I know you mentioned these backflow protectors, which probably a good idea, but I mean, they can plug too. So that may or may not be the way to resolve this issue. And you know, we have to tell everybody that because things can get stuck in those backflow protectors too. So yeah, I think we need to, now this wasn't brought up at the environmental committee because of the timeline, so they haven't brought it straight to the council. So I do agree that we really do need to look into this. This is something drastically wrong. And if there's a major flaw in the sewer system, because you're at the bottom of the hill and you know, things don't flow uphill too good, then maybe more maintenance, taking a look at this catch basin on a more frequent basis might be the answer. But the other thing, you know, like if you're not getting a response to full sewers for hours and hours on end, you're only going to get one place to go. So I don't know what went wrong there, but I wasn't there at the time. So yeah, I think something needs to be done here.
As described in Ms. Brush's email, Jacobs was out there. Well,
Jacobs did an amazing job, and I said that in my email. They were out there. I called them at, I don't even know, 2 something, and they were out there by at least 3:15. And it was Badger, like the time it took for Badger to come from wherever they come from, doesn't matter. From that time to, they finally finished at 11 o'clock.
Inherently, that was a challenge we had. We had a hard time actually finding an available sewage flushing company. And then it took them forever to get out there. So that was the crutch of the timing issue.
Councilor Van Clever.
Just one little question. So, that's obviously, that's a symptom. How can we give our gal here some hope that it's not gonna happen again? Or a month from now, or
Since the issue, we've flushed the main twice and cambered it once. Again, we have throughout our entire system, we're aware of some minor maintenance issues that need to be occurred to prevent it from becoming a major maintenance issue, and we are putting plans into place.
so is it fair to say that it hasn't happened since you've done that?
No,
I have not
there's
had
no
sewage in
backups.
my backup, but I do know that the thing is that I do know that when you have to have these people come in and back flush these sewage lines, that, you know, people come to me because they're like, well, you know, you're the sewage lady. And they're like, what was Badger doing? I came home and my whole basement got water all over because of the pressure from the backflow.
There shouldn't be. Their traps are not.
I don't know, that's what, because the day that they came, when it was the sewage backup, is they had to keep flushing it because there's nothing now, the first time in the hole, once they pump it out and flush it, but then as stuff comes in, it's not going anywhere, so then they had to back flush it again. And then people came home and there was like toilet water all over their walls in their bathroom.
That's why when we do sewage flushing, planned sewage flushing, we put notices out to the local property owners, because you are always want to put your toilet seat down, something heavy on top of it, put a bucket or something on top of your floor drains, because that high pressure water if it's being blocked, can come back up the sewers and bubble and pop out the openings.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Your Worship. Is there a motion that we can make to ask staff do a report back to your environmental committee?
I would suggest that's not necessary. I would suggest that's going to be discussed further and closed, and the programs are already being put into place.
And do you feel satisfied with that we're going to speak some?
I just want it fixed. And honestly, I can't discuss, I've been told I can't discuss this. I want compensation for some of this. Like, it's been a lot of money come out of my pocket. I have kids that go to school. I don't have money to this. And I work 2 jobs to make ends meet. So I can't take on another job in case I have another sewage backup. Or pay to the $2,000 deductible and then first and last month's new insurance rate. I don't have that money.
So we'll be dealing with this.
Yes, sir.
And again, I just want to reiterate, I feel that because back when I did my due diligence to make sure I didn't have any issues from my property to the road, I want a full report. I feel I deserve it. As a taxpayer, I feel I deserve that report.
Well, if she does want to report, there's procedure she has to go through to receive that, right?
Given the circumstances, yes, I would suggest that a Municipal Freedom of Information Act request should be submitted to the clerk.
So we could assist her in what direction to go with that. You okay with that if we do that, Bridget?
But that's just the report, but I don't think we're really satisfying you yet.
Well, this is.
I know, but that's the thing. I can't discuss what I'm not satisfied about. It's the problem.
Ms. Brush has asked for compensation anytime the town receives a claim. Legally cannot discuss the compensation aspect or the liability aspect about it in the open meeting. That is an item that you have to discuss in close, and it is on tonight's agenda to discuss that further.
We have 2 issues up.
I don't think that's fair, to be quite honest.
So getting into legality of it, yeah.
I just wanted to reiterate that we have 2 issues at play here. We need to find a solution. The other part, we unfortunately have to discuss in closed.
And I would also like to know, are you adding more people to this drainage line? The sewage drainage, because it honestly cannot keep up with what's on it now.
There will be 6 additional houses when they're constructed on that from what is currently there. Design wise, that main should be able to handle it.
In which I had to pay for
But it's
have
not
these
being
houses
designed that was the problem in this.
in my taxes.
We'll be discussing it further probably tonight and probably further down the road, and definitely keep you up to date.
I was late for the meeting.
Okay, no, thank you for coming and thank you for doing that.
Is it okay that I leave?
Yeah, you may stay.
No, we're gonna make you stay.
All right, council, it's a few minutes after 6. I do apologize for that. I'm going to turn it over to Councillor Van Claveren for drainage meeting. Here.
Hello.
Mr. Mayor. It's yeah, 6:05. We have 2 Court of Revision sessions this evening. Our thanks to our drainage and engineering team. We have here in Plympton-Wyoming, our second to none in all of Ontario. So we appreciate all the work that's gone into these. I now ask for a declaration of pecuniary interest, if there's any conflicts of interest at this time. Hearing none, I would request members to make the appropriate declaration if necessary throughout the business of the meeting. I might respectfully ask 2 of you 3 if you decide to step out.
We all running.
Guys, you guys decide on go. Thank you. Okay, Pat. Usually quicker.
A lot of enthusiasm.
They couldn't get out quick enough there. The purpose of the Court of Revision is to hear appeals from landowners regarding the schedule of assessment only. As set out in the engineer's report dated April 18th, 2023 for the Carmichael Drain Branch C extension. The Court of Revision has no authority to change the engineer's report in any way. Schedule of assessment may be altered, but the total must remain the same. One assessment is reduced, and the other assessments must be increased to balance. Allow me to introduce the members of the court and staff present. Mayor Gary Atkinson, Councillor Bob Wolvett, Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen, Councillor Mike Vasey, our Drainage and Engineering Coordinator Elizabeth Cummings is here, Clerk Aaron Korchek, Director of Public Works Adam Sabansky, our Planning Technician Isabel Kane. I'm John Van Claveren, and our engineer tonight on this project is Mike Garrett's of M. Garrett's Consulting. I'll turn it now over to you, Mr. Garrett's, and if you would please speak to the assessment schedule.
Yeah, so with respect to the Carmichael Drain Branch C extension, I have not received any appeals for the assessments to date.
Thank you. Clerk Aaron Korchek, have you received any written appeals to the scheduled assessment? Thank you. Is there any questions? Ron, do you have any questions tonight? Okay, not in this one. Thanks for the warning. Any members on our court here tonight have any questions on this drain? Court confirms the assessments on the Carmichael Drain Branch C extension as contained in the engineer's report dated April 18th, 2023. Have a motion here moved by Bob Wolfett, seconded by Nettie McEwen. Court confirms a schedule of assessment on the Carmichael Drain C extension is contained in the engineer's report dated April 18th, 2023. All in favor? Passed. Motion here moved by Bob Wolvett, Council Bob Wolvett, seconded by Mayor Nettie McEwen, that the Court of Revision for the Carmichael Branch C extension adjourned. In favor? You. Now the Court of Revision for the O'Brien Branch A drain. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest at this time? Seeing none, the purpose of the Court of Revision is to hear appeals from landowners regarding the schedule of assessment only, set out in the engineer's report dated May 10th, 2023 for the O'Brien Branch A drain. The Court of Revision has no authority to change the engineer's report in any way. Schedule of assessment may be altered, but the total must remain the same. If one assessment is reduced, then the other assessments must be increased to balance. Allow me to once again introduce our court, Mayor Gary Atkinson, Councillor Bob Wolvett, Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen, Councillor Mike Vasey, our Drainage and Engineering Coordinator Elizabeth Cummings, our Clerk Aaron Korchek, Director of Public Works Adam Sabansky, Isabel Kane, our Planning Technician, and I'm John Van Claveren, here of the committee, and our engineer on this project is Mr. Mike Garrett's on behalf of MIG Engineering. Mr. Garrett's, I'll turn it over to you now. Thank you.
For the O'Brien Branch A drain, I haven't had any appeals to date.
Any questions from the audience? Was your hand up, Ron?
Yep.
I didn't quite see there.
Just want to clarify one thing, because I understand from the brother, I wasn't at the one meeting. The cement driveway portion of Norm Demeyer's, so that isn't built against us at all.
No, when you look in the report, you'll see there's a special assessment table in the report, and in that, I know it's small. Unfortunately, I looked at it today when I was looking, and it talks about that enclosure and the cost for all of that was assessed against the town as part of the work that was done on that portion of the drain when it was filled in. So no, you were definitely not assessed on it.
Right, so none of us are paying on having that driveway.
Not on the concrete portion, only the pipe underneath.
So being that my brother and I are paying a substantial part of that repair, can we request to see the
tenders when they come in before they're awarded?
It's a public tender though, right? Like, we never, and you'll see it when it comes in the final payment. It would go for a public, Elizabeth can answer, so I can, but it will go for a public tender. Through on the public website, and usually we'll get them. I think when your brother was looking at it, he felt the granulars were high, but it's all prorated back. Right? So those special benefits for the concrete driveway that are held there, they're taken out separately.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it's prorated back, but can we give out a tender to a landowner?
I don't say you have to physically give me a copy of it, but can I look at it and say, I want to see 3 competitive bids?
If we get 3, right? You don't know. I mean, I think nowadays you'll get 3, but 2 years ago, you might have got 1.
Oh, I know, because
Yeah.
everybody's so busy, right? They
Yeah.
don't want, or they're bidding really high. That's my only fear, is that they're gonna spend enough.
I think the best compromise is make sure Ron's invited to the tender opening. That way he can see the prices as they come in, so he doesn't get a surprise a couple days down the road. And that way, if you have any questions, we can have a quick look at them.
I'm not trying to be smart about it, but I know that sometimes when you read some of the stuff that, and you see that all the tenders come in. One guy is bidding $100,000, some guy's bidding $350 on the exact same tender. So I don't want to be that guy that gets stuck paying the $350 when, but then in the same token, I don't want to pay a guy $100,000 for a job that does a half-assed job, because honestly, the guy that did Michigan line ditch down there, that guy shouldn't be allowed to tender the job, period. As far as I'm concerned.
We appreciate your frustration on that matter.
Yeah.
Really, we do. Trick is public tendering can be challenging. We're obligated to, consider the lowest tender unless we have legal reasons not to consider the lowest tender. But you're more than welcome to join us at the tender opening. You're more than welcome to view the documents at that.
I'd be happy with that. Yep.
Can't make through the chair. If you can't make it, you can call me. I mean, I can verbally go over it.
Yeah.
We don't like to release other people's numbers out.
No, I don't really want to see his number, but I don't want, I'd hate, like I said, I don't want to find out after the fact there's 3 tenders, and then all of a sudden, we got.
Yeah, I think
It's a half-assed job or something.
And I think in this drain, like if we were putting a field tile in with a wheel machine, you might get 2 tenders. You might get 1 tender, you might get 3. This is a different kind of job. So you're gonna get the guys that normally take it. And we do send out, like, to the guys that are regularly bidding, we give them a heads up, or at least I do. I give them a heads up to say, hey, this is the tender advert. They still have to call in. They still have to request it. But we try to make sure the guys that we usually use don't miss it. Just because of the digital world. So I think on this one, you're not gonna get 3, you'll get more, because it's a project that other guys can be competitive. But if it was a wheel machine, you are limited.
Yeah.
Definitely, because there's only so many guys with wheel machines.
That was my only concern.
Very good, fellas. That was a good dialogue. Did you have any questions, sir? Okay. Any questions from the court? I have a motion here from Councilor Bob Wolvett, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen. The court confirms the schedule of assessment in the drain is contained in the engineer's report dated May 10th, 2023. Favor? Passed. Second motion here by Councilor Bob Wolvett, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen, that the Court of Revision for the O'Brien Branch A drain be adjourned. All in favor? Thank you. That concludes Court of Revision, sir.
Okay, thank you, Councilor McLeod. Thank you, Mr. Garrett. Thank you, Mr. Cummings.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Yeah, council, at this time, I'm going to call a 15-minute personal break. Isabella, could you take us out and put up that we'll be back at 6:30?
Live here.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Third off with item number 9 on the agenda, Councilor's report, Deputy.
Yes. We'll start over here with Mr. Wolvet. He went on a trip today. Did
Thank
you
you,
do anything else? besides
Madam
that?
Deputy Mayor. Appreciate that. Yes, we had a very good side trip today with Plympton Federation of Agriculture. We toured Wanstead Co-op and they gave us quite a report on their history. We toured the Watford pepper plant there by the big landfill site, which was very interesting, covers about 20 acres of land. A family owned and very interesting. Go in there and have a look, and they're into peppers and stuff like that. And then we toured a dairy farm of Harry Van Weeren out on Jericho Road. I guess the other thing I'll just mention that went on with me over in my committees over the last couple of weeks, we had the Decoration Day. Very successful. And I think people were extremely happy. The preacher did a great job and yeah. And we had a fire board meeting last night. And dealt with several different issues. I'm not going to go into a lot of the details of what went on because half of it was enclosed, 3/4 of it was enclosed. So, but we did kind of resurrect some of the interests of the firemen with working documents and employee health and safety meetings. We talked about that. So yeah, that's what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks. Thank you.
So you've been busy.
I've been very busy. Yeah.
Very good, Mr. Van
And had 2 weeks off and went on vacation too.
I, on the other hand, Deputy Mayor,
Have
I
done
don't have a
nothing?
lot to report, but I did want to follow up on something that Councillor Wolvet talked about, the decoration ceremony, and it was a very nice time, and everybody that was there sure appreciated the words that were spoken, the music. It was very honorable. There's family present and it was good, good day.
Who's the Reverend?
Reverend Ron Rye, we just came over from Scotland. He's only been over here a short period.
Okay, so you could understand him clearly too.
Yeah. The gentleman just zeroes in on every word, doesn't he?
He very much does,
Yeah, very good.
as did we. Listening in,
Yeah.
Okay, I'll leave you for the last, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Bougen.
Thank you. We had no committee meetings since the last meeting, but I will just remind council that on Saturday is the Canada Day event for the Special Events Committee. It runs from 11 to 3, starting with a parade from McKay Park at 11 a.m. It takes off. It's a bicycle parade, so kids are invited to bring their bikes, decorate their bikes, and be in the parade again. And then it'll end up at the Wyoming Fairgrounds, where there'll be touch a truck, the dog agility show, jelly ball with Valley Axe, and food trucks and lots of good stuff. So it's from 11 till 3. So hopefully everyone can make it out to that. And then the other one is just to quickly, I think I'll be taking advantage of the land use planning training that's happening at AMO this year. So if anyone else is interested in doing that with me, I'll be doing a 2-day session. Everything for me.
I think everybody should take it, but anyway, Mr. Vasey.
Yes, ma'am. What did I do this? Parks and Rec met. We discussed our tour that we had done on the weekend before. We too have a working document that we're going to set up that everything we found deficiencies or improvements that we wanted done so they don't get missed. And then that will just be a rolling list that carries on with us. The 2 ball clubs were at that meeting for the quarterly update and the thing. Both clubs are sitting around about 500 kids in their programs and adult like everybody. So it's, yeah, they're into it. There was nothing major that needed to be done or got missed. So.
Thank you. Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you. So I had the St. Clair Conservation Authority Board of Directors meeting last week, obviously, as everybody knows. This week, we got the draft transfer of the lands for Harvey Glen and Kewen. The campgrounds continue to be a big conversation point. We have another delegation from camper as well, with their enforcing the regulations that all these campgrounds, campers, seasonal campers, follow the Ontario Building Code rules as it relates to the decks and structures, and then also going forward, how they've really restricted use of any of those. Going back more to maybe traditional camping instead of glamping type scenario. There was also a letter sent to Board of Directors from Chatham Kent, advising the Board of Directors that they would really like them to consider restraining their increases in their budget for Chatham Kent's upcoming next year's budget, because they're looking to already looking ahead to try and curtail their expenses next year and the offset some of the increases that to their tax base. So giving us a heads up, they'd really like us to, refine what services and keep those costs down. I was also with the fire committee last night. I know Bob has spoken, or Councilor Wavett has spoken on that. But I did want to touch on two items on that. We did speak about the Councilor Wavett spoke to the fire association and maybe renewing some discussions between the committee and them on new and better ways to move forward, or readdress some of the issues from the past and see if we can kind of have a fresh start there. So everybody was on board for having them do a delegation to the committee. Sure, to see how that goes.
And they're gonna do a delegation to the committee, fire board? Is that what you're saying?
The firefighters association, is that correct wording?
Association.
Oh, okay, right.
And the fire truck restoration as well. That old pumper that we approved $6,700 to be spent on that. County contributing another $6,700. It was discussed that originally that it would go get towed somewhere far away.
Waterloo area.
Waterloo, thank you, to get an assessment and whatever what cost would be. There's now a new direction that they just want to take it local here and get assessed. They feel like there's maybe just some minor tweaks that it needs and not such a big production. The funds that we've been allowed do give us full discretion to be able to just take it locally and not necessarily where we thought it was going to go.
Save some money.
Yes, hopefully, yes. Now we
Proud of you that way. Proud of you that way. Saving money. Is that it?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, you threw me off when you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deputy. A couple things. First of all, I took part in the annual, I attended the Plympton Agricultural Hall of Fame presentations. Where McGugan's, Dickinson's that are involved in agriculture very heavily, as well as Jim Johnson, who is one of the founders of the ethanol production plants that we have in Chemical Valley. I was able to take part along with several other counselors, and I do thank each and every one of you that was able to be at Bacon Burgers. I know the fire department really appreciated that. I attended the Lambton Police Service Board. I was at the Ride with Pride on Sunday. And obviously, as you're aware, took part in Watford's 150th celebration. A great event. I've had a few comments from some of our residents on why we didn't celebrate Wyoming's 150th. And I assured them that it had been considered, but previous council's decision was not to proceed for various reasons. And I had the honor of being at a gentleman's 90th birthday. And Keith Hart's 90th birthday. I was most appreciative of that. Tomorrow I have a meeting with Laws, and as well, Cummings and I are venturing to London. Join Mayor Case and Mr. Maver, their drainage person. We have a meeting with the Minister of Transportation relating to the CN issue. Not sure where it's going, but we do, that's a real plus factor to get a meeting. We have a few minutes with him. And we're going to be talking about CN issues. So I'll be able to give you an update on that later on. So that's all I have. I regret not being on the LFA tour with Councillor Wolvette today, but I'm sure he represented us very well.
Yes, thank you for your report. Was there a good turnout at that ride for Pride?
I
That
don't think
side
that,
ride.
I don't believe it was well attended as it had been in the past. Councillor Basie, you were there for the
It
majority.
was a busy weekend.
Yeah, a lot of things. Are there fireworks on Saturday night, Mr. Bouchen?
No, so we moved the event to 11 to 3 because we didn't get
Okay,
money for fireworks, so that way we can do both.
Okay. I was gonna come and watch them, you see, but I guess.
I'm watching dog show. It's me through.
Oh, that's okay. It'd be just as interesting as, fireworks. Yeah, yeah. I think it will be.
Mayor's in the parade.
What?
Mayor is in the parade.
On your bicycle?
Any worse?
Does he have a bicycle?
Yeah,
I think you and the deputy
horse.
could ride your horses.
you have 2 horses, yes.
Yeah, it'll be a
There you
quick,
go.
it'll be a quick route, won't it?
Would be wonderful.
Yes, it would be.
The horses would be, yes, okay. Well, that's about it.
What about you, Deputy?
Oh, well, I did go to a museum meeting and there's what is their names? Mary and made a presentation of Mary's father, who was in the First World War, and he lost his legs and being in a boat and they got frozen. Man, oh man, it was really, really touching. And he discovered it by just not what his dad told him, but by researching what he had done and some of his diary and stuff like that. So it was one of the more interesting meetings at the museum. Sometimes it's the historical meeting, the historical meetings can be a little different. Anyway, and that's about what I've done. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the end of our counselors' reports. How's that?
Thank you, Council. All right, let's go back to item 10.1. Motion by Councillor Wolvette, seconded by Councillor Van Claveren, that the minutes be adopted by council and that those confidential minutes of the closed sessions remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemption provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy. That would be Special Events Committee meeting of May the 1st, Environmental Service Committee meetings May the 4th, Fire Executive Committee meetings of May 16th, and the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting of May 18th, 2023. All the chair people are here. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I'll call for motion to receive. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, council, let's go to item 11, bylaws. By 11.1 is our first one, bylaw 66 of 2023 being the Parker Creek Green Collection. A motion by Councillor Van Claveren, seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen, that collection bylaw 66 of 2023 for the Parker Creek Drain, that is a section 76, be approved and that a prorated levy be imposed on the ratepayers according to the attached Schedule A, which will be collected on the 2023 tax roll or as one cash payment or with the option to debenture with interest over 3 annual payments, only if the amount exceeds $1,000. And that bylaw 66 of 2023 be taken as read 3 times, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw. Any questions on that? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, let's go to the next one. 11.2, being a bylaw. Use of a public facilities agreement with the Inn of the Good Shepherd Mobile Market. Motion by Councillor Vacy, seconded by Councillor Bojan. Bylaw 72 of 2023 for the use of public facilities agreement for the Inn of the Good Shepherd Mobile Market be approved. That bylaw 72 of 2023 be taken as read 3 times. Mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw. Mr. Sabansky, this is one of your reports, I believe. Just briefly, could you tell us where the proposed movement is for this market?
So the mobile market will be occurring at McKay Park, at the just south of Erie Street on Toronto Street in the gravelled area that we recently updated.
This is once a week.
I believe so, yes.
Any other questions? Call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, clerk, item number 12, correspondence. Do we have anything that has arrived since this was posted? All right. Go to item 13 on your agenda. Moved by Councillor Van Claveren, seconded by Councillor Wolbet. The correspondence related to items A to K. A to K relating to recommended reading and routine approval and information items not otherwise addressed. A resolution be noted as received by the Plympton-Wyoming Council and filed accordingly. Council, is there anything in there that you'd like to pull or you'd like to recognize? Beginning on my left, Councillor Wolbet.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, G. For information purposes only. Lambton Farm Safety will be putting on Progressive Ag Family Safety Day again, and that will be over for you at their Greenwood Recreation Center. 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Great thing for kids to go to. You can register there, but you better you call in to register. So yeah, it's a good day, always a good day. The number's there. You can call Agnes Dickinson. Yeah, if you have any kids, send them on over. Young kids, I think up to 11 or 12 years old. So yeah, it's a good day. So that's next Thursday, July the 6th.
I believe I've been invited to attend that as well. So I'll probably see you there.
You're a little older than that. What's going on?
It never hurts to learn, does it?
You're welcome, sir. That's all I have.
All right, Councillor Van Claveren.
Nothing for me, sir.
Deputy Mayor. Councillor Rodriguez. Councillor Vacy.
Nothing, Your Worship.
Councillor Bojan. All right, call for the motion. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, number 14, new business, beginning on my right, Councillor Bojan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have 3 things and I'll be brief as possible, so I don't give too much time. My first one is, I'm just wondering if we can get on the website a notice that pops up, something about the railway closure.
Should be on there already.
Okay.
It will be probably tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Should be on there tomorrow morning.
It's in the works.
All right. Thank you.
Good planning.
My second one is after talking to Denny about the process to do it, I've sent Aaron a notice of motion for the next meeting to talk about more. But I put forward a notice of motion to discuss the creation of a voluntary agricultural advisory committee for Plympton-Wyoming. Basically, just as a quick background, it's something I talked about a lot in the fall. And with the OP being reopened at the county level, strategic planning, official plans, I think we need that perspective. And a voluntary advisory committee, the way I see it, is not encumbersome on staff because it's not a committee. I've kind of drafted, not final, because we can ask staff to put terms of reference together, but I've been very explicit to make sure it's removed from staff so they don't have to worry about staff time for minutes and stuff. And it would be a voluntary committee for the farmers and agricultural community to be part of it. But I just wanted to give that heads up that notice of motion is for July 12th, and I'll send out some more information before that meeting so we can talk about it some more. And then my last one is the province extended their comments for their proposed provincial planning statement. I will be going through this a lot and if I bring that up, so maybe we can all do a look at that, because August 6th is the deadline for comments.
All right.
Thank you.
Welcome, thank you. I will share with you that on your agricultural committee, I have talked to the county and they do have an agricultural committee for relations. And it's been dormant for a while and he would like to reignite it again. And the suggestion was maybe we as Plympton-Wyoming could send the county a letter encouraging that so that they can get the wheels in motion as well. Does that fall into what you're looking at, Alex, as well, that we could maybe simultaneously get things moving, not only here, but countywide as well?
Yeah, from what I've heard and whatever I'm sure everyone else has heard is both, yeah, local level and countywide, I think would be helpful, but yeah, from what I've seen, yeah, it was, from what I've heard, the county level is dormant. So perhaps if we start locally, if imagine other communities can continue in countywide.
And then when it comes up at the county, I can speak to it, say that we're starting one and encouraging the rest of the county. We might as well be the leaders.
Yeah. Aren't we?
Most of the time we are. Is council okay with that? Thank you, Alex. Councilor Vacy?
Yes, I have a few to go through. Come to my attention from somebody that lives on Confed that there's been an increase of transports coming from Sarnia Way through Confed. Don't know why, but it's not really a road designed for heavy truck traffic, I don't imagine, so. He just asked me to ask about it, and if anybody else has noticed, he lives on it and sees them go by all the time. I don't know what they're doing. Like an empty car hauler went through on Sunday when he was telling me about it. What?
I know I have to go through my emails, but I did get a notice from the county that the emergency detour route was activated at some point in time late last week. So the 402 was closed in Sarnia for a period of time. So it may have been coincided with that, because that would definitely increase our traffic, because as London line gets backed up, they spill over to Michigan and Oregon.
That overpass was closed too.
So I don't know if those coincide, but I know I did receive that email probably late last week about the same time you're referring to.
Okay, thank you. Another resident lives London Line West, has heard a little birdie say that there is fiber coming towards his house, but I'm passing London Line and going to Fairweather for some reason and missing everybody on London Line. I haven't heard anything about any new internet stuff, because I know it's kind of a dead hole out there, because I know a couple people that can't get Bell, they can't get anything, so if we could look into that for them, please.
Josh, look into that. Josh has now access to the provincial fiber optic portal where they list all their projects. And that's where we pull our data from for our projects currently happening in town. So I'll look into that.
Thank you. OPP and ATVs. Yesterday at the Lions Hall, I see a kid come flying down the railroad tracks on a dirt bike, turns right down Broadway and gone. On my way up here for tonight's meeting, has a 12, looks like he's 12, I don't know how old he is, on a side-by-side going down London Street through all the construction and meets me again over here on Front. And then where he went from there, I don't know, but, and the police had to have seen him because the cop was right behind me. So if we could maybe get that, have we formally asked them to look into that from the last meeting?
Not formally. I know ATVs are an issue throughout Wyoming. We do not permit them. We did not pass a bylaw allowing for them. So if it is becoming an issue, the challenges with ATVs is they're here and then they're gone. So what we found with the OPP is that they got to catch them in the act. So I would suggest if the community is having an issue with ATVs on their specific road, that section of the community put a complaint in through the OPP's online reporting portal. That will increase the OPP's awareness of an issue in the area, and they may increase presence in the area. That's how we deal with speeding as well. So I think that would probably apply best to ATVs. Because if we don't give them a specific area to concentrate in, they don't typically reallocate forces to look at it.
I just don't understand why any parent would let the 12-year-old kid drive an ATV around town and think it's all right. I don't. Anyway, he did have a helmet and everything on. I'll give him that, but
Parents don't know where they're riding them. That's the trouble. You know.
oh, like I say, this kid's driving it right down the street. Ride with Pride, we talked about that. Good crowd that was there. It was very hot. A lot of stuff. Bouncy houses and all that kind of stuff. So very well organized. So I'd like to shout out to them. And lastly, I was at Bacon Burgers, having my bacon burger, and I got presented with this, and I kind of laughed about it, but now it kind of bugs me. That Mike Vasey, in appreciation for 27 years of dedicated fire service, as serving as the firefighter captain and chief of the Wyoming Fire Department. Signed by Lonnie Napper, Carol Tripp, and Steve Clements. So this thing's 4 years old, been sitting on the chief's desk and didn't bother to give it to me. The part that bothers me is I count about 13 guys that have left. And I hope to hell they didn't get left out. And I know there's some that have. We've got two, just off the top of my head, I don't know anybody about Cam Lackey or those guys, but from what I can gather, 262 years of experience, left the fire department, never got a thank you. I would ask fire management to look into this and please rectify the error. Because it's time to bury it. Should never have gone this far. Like I say, this is 4 years old because Steve never come back after I get on council. Oh. Two chiefs have allowed that to sit on their desk and not bother. And I got a lovely little glass thing that went with it, so it all been bought and just never bothered.
Give you that, Mike, if you don't mind me asking.
Chris found it when he was going through the chief's office. I said, I got something. Like I say, I never got anything, which I wasn't looking for anything, but there's a whole lot of guys there that deserve a thank you and a handshake and a, you know, I know it wasn't you guys, but somebody's got to step up and right the wrong.
First of all, congratulations as the representative of the fire committee. I would like to congratulate you. My apologies that this is on somebody's desk before. You're asking that the fire committee bring this up and address it and make sure that
Make sure the ones that didn't get it, at least get a thank you with them.
you will absolutely.
Because there's some that with. On my list, there's some with 27 years, 25 years, 20 years, 20 years, 33 years. 18 years, 18 years, like it's all the veterans that had left. And whether you like the fact that they left or they quit or they got fired or whatever, they still put that much time in.
So we'll
To
put
get-
that for our agenda.
You can't.
You got a list of the names there, Mike, that you think?
I've got my list, but it'll get you started. And then Cam Lackey, there were like probably 10 of them that left, I think, at the time, so.
So you
That
could
was,
email them to Bob or Ms. Counselor.
I'll give you my,
Yeah, I'll give it, that certainly will give
I'm
it.
just going off the top of my head of the guys I can remember, so.
I gotta be honest, that Mayor and I did talk about this very recently as what, just a few days ago. And so I had no idea you were getting that or somebody would give it to you without some kind of a formal.
And it should have been done
Yeah.
5 years ago.
5 years
And if there's more of them sitting there, it should all be on their Fire Pro program to tell you the dates they left.
ago. No, I know there was some presentations made to some longtime service members, but I can't recall who. We'd have to go back at the last event. COVID kind of.
There'd be the 20-year and 25, like the provincial and the federal one, but even our own stuff that, say, a guy put 18 years in. Not even a.
I'll certainly take it back to the fire board and
If you would, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilor Ravy.
And that's all I have.
By the way, congratulations, Mike. That is very, no,
Congratulations.
seriously,
Congratulations.
Very
on your
honorable.
service.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Your Worship. Three things. The cell tower on Michigan line that we approved. Do we know the timeline of every single time? You know, I'll be on the phone going through there and gone. So we don't know a timeline of when that will,
Off the top of my head. I had to pull the documents out from planning and see who the contact was and ask if they have a timeline.
and additionally, do we know if there's any other planned cell towers for our jurisdiction?
Not that planning has made me aware of. You want to maybe dig out that site plan and we'll see if any other recent ones that came in recently.
Take a look.
Thank you.
Thank you. And secondly, I know other areas are already posting their strategic plan, open houses. Where are we with a timeline for looking at doing a strategic plan review?
What is in the budget to do an update?
Yes.
didn't get it
I'm not
right.
sure.
I think that may have just put on the shelf until we, the else in position,
Okay, so we're thinking maybe the fall?
probably.
Okay. And the third, kind of leaning towards that strategic plan, and the timeline. I know on a couple of occasions now I've brought up about agritourism and value-added services and the desire to see something be put in place for that, as we have no bylaw that backs up those policies that exist in the municipal official plan and county official plan, and then there's obviously provincial policies on that as well. So in order to look at getting more public education on the agricultural sector, seeing what else we can, and understanding what agritourism is about, value-added services. I know we do have a delegation coming soon to speak to some of that. But Ken Mellison also said in one of those meetings we had, when I asked about it, he said he would prepare a staff report and bring it back to us, but obviously he's a busy man, but I just wanted to reiterate.
This week.
Yeah.
Just wanted-
To somehow put it back out to planning or Mr. Mellison to remind him of that conversation, because I'd really like to see something come back before we go to the strategic plan. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Wolvett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know you've already heard a little bit about this from Kristen on a couple of things at the fire department, but actually she talked about the two things that I was going to bring up. With the business. No, that's fine. Appreciate that, but I just want to zero in on the fire truck restoration. Where we're going with this thing. The firemen themselves don't think that thing needs a total restoration and big money. So what they're going to do is take it to a local person and they'll get an assessment on how much money needs to be spent for the brakes, and there's some gears and oil leaks and stuff like that. They want to get the thing so that you can go over there, turn the key, start it, and be able to take it out in that parade safely with good brakes. Even myself, when I deal with classic vehicles, have all my life, that thing is kind of unique, just the way it is. It don't need a whole lot of stuff. Okay, so for information for the council, that's what's going to happen. My understanding, Chief Jordan has already given permission to proceed with that. And as you very well know, it was $6,700 grant, plus I think we said we'd match it. And this, I won't go any farther. This is information for the council, already been approved for the truck, so I don't think we need any approval. And I talked to Norm about this at the fire board. So, but we wanted you to have the information so you know exactly what's going on. And the association, I've been approached several times over the last a year, I'm gonna say a year, even before that. If the association wants to talk to us. You know, the association, and I seen it there at Bacon Burgers. You know, they got their families there, they got their kids there, and they want to do things, and they want to raise money, and they want to donate money. And a comment was made to me was, why bother with any of this stuff when we can't do anything, you know, to help the community? Like the community, not donate it to Petrolia or somewhere else. They want to be involved in the community. And I mean, I was, you know, very blunt with them about some of the things that happened in the past, you know, the association, you know, we donated, you know, we want control of it. Well, I was very clear that once you donate it, you know, it belongs to the town, and they understand that, especially the most recent conversation. So, at the fire board, we're gonna ask them to send a delegation from the association. Let's talk. Let's get this thing settled. That's our association. That's our firefighters and their families and their kids. So that's what we're gonna do. I don't know what's gonna come out of it. I think it's gonna be very positive. And let's bring them back to the loop with their rules and stuff around this. And they want to donate. They want to donate to that truck. So, you know, they know it's ours. They know it belongs to the town. So I think it's time to get this, just like your issue, Mike, let's get back to the community. So if you have if anybody has any objections, please tell us. But that's what I'd like to do. Bring them back into the conversation. And we'll keep you well posted on what the conversation is. And they'll be well told exactly what the town's expectations are for donations and stuff like that. So, any objection, please either email me or the fire board and say, get lost or don't do it, but you need to be informed of what we're doing. So thanks for Chris bringing up the good, no, that's good. We want to get things. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor Wolvett. Councilor Van Claveren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just how is Plympton Street coming along?
Slowly but surely.
Yes.
Um,
Track, maybe?
Actually, yes, it is on track.
Fantastic.
Water main is in. It's in the process of being tested and commissioned. Storm sewers are going in right now. We are having some challenges with storm sewer, not necessarily in regards to the installation of it. We're finding a lot of bylaw infractions where downspouts are directly tied into storm sewer, which contributes to significant flooding. So unfortunately, we are notifying a number of persons that they are not in compliance, and we will be asking them to remove their downspouts from the storm drain. Other than that, everything seems to be going relatively smoothly. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. That's all for me, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
No, I just thought of the people that gave the presentation at the Historical Society was Larry and Barry Ann Wilson. I don't know if you people know them, but that's, I thought I'd bring that up, you know, give them, they needed a clap on the back. There you go. Yeah.
Thank you. I have a couple things myself. First of all, I was asked if the county could get one of our flags, and they know that we've changed our branding. And I said, well, I have to take it to council where we may have to change our flags to match what our branding is. So I guess what I'm looking for is a direction from council, or at least the support that we have staff prepare a new flag brand for us that we can prominently display here as well as at the county buildings and our facility as well. That makes sense to council. Are you in support of something like that? Okay.
Budget? Well, find a place for it, $350, aren't they? for the flag? Anyway.
Thank you. Community entrance signs. I know I've shared my concerns with our works department. I've had some residents recently get a hold of me as well. The grass around our signs needs to be trimmed. And I just would ask that if the works department can take a look at that as well, Mr. Sabansky.
Absolutely.
Yes, because
That was done today. Done on my way.
it wasn't up on Lake Shore today.
Yes, so going to Lake Shore, for me, see a lot of people, there's some bushes that have wildly grown kind of in front of it and kind of obstruct it when you're driving into Plympton,
I
Wyoming.
know.
Yeah, so I've had a lot of complaints about that and is that our land or county land? If we could just chop those bushes down there to give a more longer view of that.
Yeah, we won't put spotlights on it yet. I'll leave that with the Works Department to take a look at. And third item, I have some concern from some residents in Kamlaki. But still, there's dump trucks going through and they seem to be speeding a little bit, as well as some other residents that or other people that are speeding through. I know there's some that have children there that are expressing concern because people are now using the sidewalks a lot now that they're in place. Deputy, you haven't put the spike belts out. I think we need to probably make contact when you were talking to the OPP if they could mind doing some patrol in that area. I also suggested to those residents to contact through the OPP with their portal to put that in as well. And fourth thing I had some concerns brought to my attention about when trucks are coming in on Oil Heritage from the south end of Wyoming, seem to be hitting their jake brakes. And it's reverberating through that Nettie's Way, Isabella, Zone Street. I guess it travels very well. Mr. Spansky, if that's a county road, do we have to go through them about posting signs if not to use jake brakes or whatever?
I do believe that would require a bylaw. So yes, it would have to go through the county if it was on a county road.
So we could mention that tomorrow morning. Okay, that's all that I have at this time, council. So let's go to item number 15. Have a closed meeting session. Have a motion by Councilor Wolvette, seconded by Councilor Van Claveren, that council move into an in-camera meeting of council pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act 2021 is amended for the following reasons. Item A, B, and C, employee matters, section 239, bracket 2, bracket D, labor relations or employee negotiations. Item D, E, and F, litigation matters, section 239, bracket 2, bracket E. Litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting municipality or local board. And item G, solicitor client privilege, section 239, 2F, advice that is subject to solicitor client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. That is quite a list that we have, so. All those in favor? Carried.